Well, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome. I'm Daryl from the Jackson Kayak Fishing Team, and getting ready to tie up some flies for the upcoming shad season on the tail race here in the Charleston area up by Monk's Corner. And that won't happen until probably end of January, maybe mid-February when the water temperatures get up to around 60. But you got to tie a lot of flies. You're going to lose some. So the next series of fly that we're going to be tying here is the shad crack, and it's Tim O'Neill's pattern. And why don't we take a look at it, and I'll explain the materials as I go along. This here is O'Neill's shad crack. Pretty simple. It's almost like a woolly bugger, except it doesn't have the hackle, a beadhead woolly bugger. But shad will tear these things up. They're so you don't want to put a lot of work into them. So they're pretty quick ties. So why don't we go ahead and get started? This is the Chartreuse version. You could tie it in white, pink, whatever. The hook I'm going to be using today is a TMC 9394 in a size 8. It's a 4X long. And the beads I'm using are modeled tactical slotted tungsten beads, and in this case they're going to be red. And go ahead and debarb my hook. Shad can be pretty delicate type of fish, so you don't want to handle them so much in there. And the slotted bead has a slot on one side and a hole on the other. On there, and with the bend, the sharp bend on these hooks here, it makes it I'm going to say it was impossible for me to just try to get a standard bead on there, so I went with a slotted. And I'm going to add like 10 wraps of .015, give it some additional weight. Or 11. Now we'll just be lazy and wrap that around. And as you can see, there's a slot right about there. I'm going to try to keep that on the bottom on there. I'm going to use some Chartreuse. You could use red, whatever color thread, white. It's really not going to show through, but I try to match it either with the body or with the bead. And this is 210 Denier. You could probably tie it in littler, but this is a shad fly. You probably lose it, and they might cut it off. And we'll try to lock that bead in a little bit to keep the slot where it's at. Alright, next I'm going to use some Chartreuse Marabou. I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of divide this in half and take out that, or you can cut it out, you know, the tip. This will give it a little bit more motion. And then we'll wet that down. And in the earlier shad flies that we were tying, you know, I talked about how they like to short strike, so the tail on this fly probably won't be any longer than from the point of the hook to the eye. And then we'll wrap this up to help use it to build up the body and lock that head in a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. And we'll trim that off. And we'll take our thread back to the tail. And next I'm going to use is some Chartreuse Chenille. And again, I'm trying to get where the core is there, so my tie down point isn't so bulky. You know, after all, it's got to look pretty too. And we'll just wrap that forward. Give it about 3 wraps here. Oh, and then 3 wraps in front to lock it. Now I like to turn my vise upside down. You could push it out, the thread away from your fingers. And we'll give it some wraps here. And we'll put a little cement, head cement on the thread. And the cement I'm using is hard as hull head cement. And then we'll take our whip finisher and give it a 5-turn whip finish. And there you have it, my variation of O'Neill's shad crack. And Chartreuse in our area is probably the best color, and then pink maybe secondary. Some people throw white, but there's other colors you can consider depending on where you live and what your experience is with your shad in your area. But let's have our farewell. Said earlier, you try to tie this in pink, blue, Pink and blue is a good combination. Black and Chartreuse, and that would the first color I mentioned would probably be the body and the tail, and then white and pink, and the color we just tied here, Chartreuse with a red head. Yeah, give it a try. I think you'll be surprised how well they work. Just watch out for those short strikes, and you'll be all right. Like normally, I like to use a sink tip line, and I usually throw a 6 or a 7 weight for the shad, but we have a lot of American shad here. They can get pretty big, but anyway, hopefully I'll get some videos of these flies in action for you, and post it up there off my kayak. Alright, I'm Daryl. We'll see you on the water.